Welcome everyone, thanks for joining. You're at the very first Mona Shorts Fest masterclass on how to create a great story. Our tips and tricks for creating a great narrative arc, what a logline is, and our mini challenge. We're going to go through our top tips and we're going to share some tools, and there's going to be some participation involved. So get whatever you need, whether it's a blank piece of paper or a Google Docs, as a blank slate. So without further ado, we might dip in to the first slide. Christian, do you mind pushing on for me? Thank you. Here's a quote to get us in the right frame of mind for storytelling. The story of Rumpelstiltskin to War and Peace is one of the basic tools invented by the human mind for the purpose of understanding. There have been great societies that did not use a wheel, but there have been no societies that did not tell stories. So the outtake from this quote is, storytelling is innate to us as humans. There's something special happening physiologically. Oxytocin is being released in the mind. It's really important to us from a generational storytelling perspective, but also to convey a message and meaning. And when we think about the logline, the synopsis for a film, it's not something that's written lightly. It's poured over because it's the right dose of synopsis, intrigue, without spoiler alerts, to really articulate what your story is about, to get the viewers to view more. But if you just head to the next slide, we're going to break this down to six word stories. So for anyone that was here yesterday, you've got a bit of a teaser for this. This is a lens to look through, to break down the logline challenge. It can be as simple as 6 word stories, and one of the most famous 6 word stories is the Ernest Hemingway story, which is For Sale, Baby Shoes Never Worn. It's one of the most famous 6 word stories, and it's used a lot in schools and in film schools as well. And just so you get a context of another example, if you just head to the next one that's a bit lighter, his fingers were snakes and ladders. This was a prize won by a student in another 6 word story. So get your pens ready. I want you to write a 6 word story. So I'm gonna, if anyone's got a soundboard, by the way, Ty, feel free to drop some music in here whilst we set the timer off. But the sentient moon happened not long ago. So we're going to get you to take a couple of minutes, maybe 3. As I say, this is good. This is a together alone exercise. So we're all doing it with you. So one of the oh, bummer. Okay, cool. I might just play some music from my phone or something whilst we get into it. So one of the things that helps is, wiki, what a sentient moon is. This is actually a live challenge with Wired, who have got a sci-fi 6 word Wired story competition. The red sentient moon is unlike any. It's the hollow moon. Its hypothesis is that the moon is hollow. If you have a look at your feed, you get a sense of description of a sentient moon. You can take this. I think with all these things, you can take this the direction that inspires you. So if you're not inspired by the sentient aspect of the moon or the crescent moon shape, it can be any story about any moon and the planets and looking up at the moon. You could be on the moon. So yeah, there's some thought starters about sentient moon. But yeah, just to break it down, write a 6 word story about I love it memory about a sentient moon. So just gonna, play some music in the background just so we've got something. I
tried to change my audio settings so I might be able to play something. Let me try.
Okay, great, because yeah.
Let me know
if you can. I'm not prepared with. Yeah, perfect. think we're there, Ty, on music.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. You've got a lovely fade as well. So great, so seamless. So if you just push on to the next slide, Christian, that would be great. So this actually was a 6-word sci-fi challenge that the Wired magazine run with. So there's some honourable mentions here: Moon awaits, men landing with hunger, which is quite a funny take on it. So I think my take on that one is, where's the perspective? It's actually sat with the moon, and the moon looking out a human. So it's just an interesting concept. You're going to have to come off mic, I'm off mute, and explain yours, Z. So I'm probably not stretched enough esoterically, but I'm not a man in myself. Dig.
Yeah, you know, the man in the moon.
Yeah. Sorry, now you said it. I love it. It's a really interesting take, though. It's a really interesting lateral shift in your mind to think just in 6 words. Ty, yours is as expected, so wholesome. Ancient moons whisper the cosmos secrets. Oh, I love it. I think you should enter that one. Love it. Quite a distant but moves oceans. Moon awake mourns the lost astronauts. Wow. Wow. Moon smiling at or with me. Oh, I love it. A nice light take on it. It saw uncounted worlds overcoming space-time. Wow. Dear Moon won't tell your secrets. Oh, so great. These are so great. I think you've got the brief. Moon whispers secrets, longing friendship. Wow. Oh, my gosh. So I think what I can read from those, so some of those are have got descriptors in, which is great, and I like the aspect of the moon having a personality that's different. Dear Moon won't tell you secrets. I love that. Just turning it into a dear story. It's got that aspect of humanizing something which is largely unknown. So I just want to give you a big shout out and clapping hands on this one, and props to you all, because this was quite a challenging topic, but you've all managed to crack it. So what I'm saying is, at the very beginning of this presentation, that writing stories is innate to you. You see the world from different lenses, and you've managed to articulate. Once you have a look at 6-word stories, you get slightly obsessed with reduction and copy, and sometimes, a lot of the time, we spend time expanding and creating nuance. And 6-word stories is actually a way to really crystallize what you're trying to say. So you've all got it, and the power is within you. Feel free to write us a 6-word story for your logline, if you'd like, if it's a good lens view, and the typewriter's going, sort of thing. So we're going to break this down. We talked very light touch on this yesterday, but the 5 W's and a H is that a good narrative possesses a beginning, middle, and end, but a great story dissolves the 5 W's and H. So who, what, why, where, when, how. So this is probably a checklist for your logline. It doesn't need to have every single element, because some things are combined. But it's, as I say, it's a lens. So it makes sense for us to start with who. So who's our avatar in this mix? And some of the characters that we put up yesterday, Harry Potter, Neo, I think I don't know who that lion is. I want to say it's not Simba, is it? Who is it? Scar? No, it's not Scar. It's the other one. So just thinking about the backstory of your protagonist, of your avatar, and really articulating what their emotional tendency is. And one of the tools that's been used time and time again is the 12 Jungian archetypes. So Carl Jung, amongst lots of other things, wrote about the 12 archetypes. So they're actually split into 4 lenses. So he believes that we operate in a 12, I guess, personality type, you'd call it. And they're split into, so the caregiver, the ruler, and the artist provide structure. Innocent, sage, and explorer provides an inspirational journey. The outlaw, the magician, and the hero want to leave a mark. And the lover, the jester, and the everyman connect with others. And this is actually what you're seeing here is the wheel of celebrities against those 4 areas of freedom, social, and order, and ego. And they were celebrities that were using the Jungian archetypes to promote the environment. So they've all done it in a slightly different way. You can obviously Greta at the top there as the rebel. And I believe we've got the innocent as well, which is a lovely quote from here. I'm just going to read from Hayden Smith. My surfing teacher taught me the ocean was alive, and my environmental teacher taught me that the ocean was dying. The every person here is AOC, which I think everyone can relate to if you know her politics. The caregiver, Emma Watson. The lover, Shakira, quite easy to relate to there. Billie Eilish, the creator. The jester, Joel, and the sage. It's funny, Leonardo sort of as a sage now, with wrinkles. But yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio as the sage. The magician as Elon Musk is quite a famous topical one. And you can see obviously ruler under there as Wills. So yeah, just a really interesting take on backstory of your archetype and your protagonist. You've got to think about if you have got different other characters in there that are leading characters, who they're butting up against. And I think we mentioned this yesterday. However, like there's always conflict in a story, and it doesn't need to be deep and dramatic. A conflict can be the walk-up line and the reason why someone is the way they are today, and a reaction. So it doesn't have to be conflict in the aggressive reaction kind of way. Conflict can be inner conflict with themselves if you're talking about a monologue, and actually literally conflicted with yourself. But conflict can happen a lot, and I guess one of the tacks on stories is that emotion travels further than fact. So if you can convey emotion in your protagonist, and what they're being emotive about is a way to think about their backstory. So it's just a lens. It's not intended to be constrictive. It's just a way of looking at your character. But you could describe your avatar and your character as coming from somewhere, being inspired by, being influenced by someone. And if you think about us as humans, we're all influenced by our own experiences, our own, what do you call it, the journey of life, the knocks that we get, the challenges that we come up against, who we fall in love with, who we work with. We're all inspired by those sorts of things. So if a framework of Jungian archetypes doesn't roll with you, just think about what has led that person on that journey to that moment there and then, who they've been inspired by, and what are they, where are they in their life stage, what's happening to them, is a way to look at them. So we might move on. That was the who. It's a big one because your character is front and center in the story. The what, how, and why are constructs of a story. So there's this guy called Kurt Vonnegut who has mapped a lot of stories. So the line that he's mapped is the emotional pull. that happens in a story. So he's mapped many stories, and he has mapped the emotional line, the peaks and the troughs in what happens to an individual or a main character. And he believes that there is only 4 ways really to tell a story, 4 ways that a story unfolds. And those are man in a hole, something bad happens, boy meets girl, from bad to worse, and which way is up. There's a lot of ambiguity in which way is up. From bad to worse, it feels a lot like, the Ozarks, where things and we're making excessive decisions and getting deeper. The love story is, time immemorial, that's very, very relatable. Man in a hole, man gets out of a hole. That's very much, adventure drama 101. So it's just like a lens again. These are all our lenses in terms of what happens, but it's an interesting concept. The other one that was brought up yesterday. No, not it's the next one. But sorry, I didn't mean to jolt you there. There's another mathematician that's done a take on Kurt Vonnegut's work, who is called the Intrepid Mathematician. That's literally mapped the Deathly Hallows blow by blow in terms of what happens in that. So Harriet the Weasleys, Ron leaves. That's another trough. Hermione's tortured, escape from Malfoy Manor, etc., etc. Happy ever after. So you can see over a journey, over minutes, over 100 minutes, or percentages, that is, of the story of how much is in peak and how much is in a trough, and how that journey has evolved over the time. So even thinking about your 2 minutes, in where do you want to start in that 2 minutes, and is it in a moment of elation? Is it in a moment of curiosity? Is it in a moment of drama and down? So even thinking about that helps you even start and think about the energy and the scene energy that you want to create. Heading on to the next slide. I think this was correct me if I'm wrong, but feel free to come off mute. Z pointed us to the book that is The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. Again, another way to look at a story in different dimensions, so the ordinary world and the special world. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to talk about this, or sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, but
no, yeah. I'm excited about this one because it's used most notably in like Star Wars, and so you can see these types of tropes throughout a lot of films. But I think it would fit in the man in the hole category. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of man in the hole in Star Wars. It's like mini stories within the stories of Star Wars, I find. Something gets solved, and then something bigger becomes apparent that they need to solve, and it's sort of 5 steps forward and 2 back the whole entire way, which keeps you hooked. So yeah, definite one. I wouldn't say it's just again another lens. I don't think you need to be beholden by things, but thinking of the emotional story arc you want to create helps with pacing. It helps with the scenes and mapping out a storyboard of what you think the scenes need to be and who's in it, and what's part of the story you need to reveal. But yeah, definite. The plot arc is definite one to invest the time in, I would say, in your story. So we're gonna do an emotional arc. So I want you to think back to a regular or surprising. Actually, let's go with surprising. I want you to tell me about a surprising emotional arc of a morning that you've had, and maybe come off mute and share it. So we're going to give you a minute or so to have a think about it. But take me back to a surprising morning and talk me through that story arc, or drop it in the chat if you want to articulate it. Feel free to write it. So another way of doing that is just first recollecting an interesting or surprising morning, and going left to right and mapping the peaks and troughs, and then annotating those peaks and troughs. And obviously, unless you get it right first time, whatever in your mind, you might then adjust for different arcs of what made you happy, mad, glad, sad, in those troughs. So yeah, Ty, could you give us some lovely beats whilst we think on this one? It's like our emotional trough of oh wow, okay, we've got one in a quiet dawn. The sting of the daily battle is acknowledged as you measure your glucose level. A moment of solace follows with a taste of morning greet. Wow, okay, serving as a gentle salve. The pull of cardio battles, the call of comfort. Today the bed wins. I love it. You dress, leaving the cocoon of home and bustling outside world, your commute in sweltering subway, a searing journey marking your resilience, arriving at WeWork office. The aroma of ambition and coffee greets you, a familiar scent of daily grind. A sudden rebellion in your stomach sends you darting to the restroom, panic flaring, and then subsiding, replaced by relief. A wry smile forms if you acknowledge the morning's unpredictable drama, and this fortifies your plunge into daily life filled with untrusted possibility. Oh, so good! What a twist! And a very good description. I feel like, Christian, you might have used ChatGPT on that one. I feel like this is. I don't know. Okay. Did you just stare at your morning? And I love it. It's so good, that one. Oh, can you hear me better now? I think it's probably my headset's wrapped around my neck. I'll try and keep it there.
It's like staticky, just a little.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Is it really bad? Do you want me to change headsets?
No, it's fine. You're still audible.
Okay, thank you. The trough of disappointment. I fell asleep without completing the last 3 tasks of my series. The plateau of reflection, taking a short walk outdoors to reflect and regroup. Emotions stabilize, allowing for introspection and gathering of thoughts. Peak of gratitude, reconnecting with a loved one. Oh, that's lovely. Emotions peak and warmth and appreciation in that moment. Plateau of sincerity, serenity, engaging in a peaceful moment alone. Emotions remain serene and tranquil, allowing me to complete the task. Oh, I love it. I love that you described what's happening there, because even that description I can see play out in scenes. So yeah, I mean that's a lovely take on. I mean, you've all had lovely, fun mornings, haven't you? Yeah, thank you for taking the time to do those. If you've got any more, feel free. Getting another lens to think about in terms of the emotional arc of story. So we're going to get into where and when. So there's a few scenes on here from famous films. And I guess some of the call outs here is where's the story set? So it looks like a house of flying daggers in the middle. It's a bamboo forest, which was fairly innovative at the time in terms of quite a lot of the scenery filmed in there. You have got Frozen on the bottom right there. There's a lot of that played out in a magical castle and outside. And I think you've got La La Land that played with a reflection of the hills in the background there. Avatar, obviously, you know, and then you've got Kill Bill in the top right, which is played a lot in you know, Japan, and then pivoted back into the US. So thinking about what's in the background, this is obviously really inherent to Mona, and thinking about what scene you want to create and where's it set, and over that story arc in Christian's coffee one. So it sounds like there was a journey there in Christian's you know, story. So the journey in the background was subway to coffee shop to WeWork, or the other way around. So there was 3 locations in there, and so thinking about where they are helps you shape potentially a storyboard. I think creating some of the aspects of sets, and so you could still create the feeling of being in the rain upside down with Spider-Man without having to actually create it. So the, you know, obviously sound plays a big role in that. So thinking about where it's set and what cues, what audible cues you could use. Same with Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, hearing seagulls flutter over the top. You know, getting Carrie Matthews on it and thinking about what else is happening, why. You know, in that scene. So equally, there have been many a film that's shot in one scene at one location. If you think about the phone booth type scenario, or call films where a lot is played out in a call center, there is the notion of limiting as well, which can also allow for other investment in other areas. So yeah, I'm just going to read some of these out. Waking up to the sound of birds brought me from slumber, a slumber dreaming about the whispers of the past. Heading to the studio, it became apparent those whispers became louder, telling me of things to come. The future became the now, as predicted, putting me back to sleep. Love that. There's some cues in there in terms of having an odd dream about sumo wrestlers chasing it. Oh, you had a wild night. Chasing after rabbits around a hedge. You groggily wake up wondering what even just happened, and a moment realizing it's 3 a.m. It's far too early. Besides, the rabbit clearly needs some backup. Determined and pulling up the covers as the mighty dreamer decide to go back. As your eyelids close, you teleport your mind back into the realms of dreams to pick back up where you left off. What is my mic okay? How's it going on the whole mic front? Sorry, I'm just reading your messages.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. So if you just push on to the next slide, when's the story set can lead into a visual, I guess, background for you. I think this is just we've obviously got sci-fi in our genres, but thinking about how far into the future. June here is set in a ridiculously far off future. And you've got Alien set in 2122, 12 Monkeys in 2028, which doesn't feel far off, and the original Blade Runner in 2019. Yeah, so just thinking about where you're and when can give you, for specifically for sci-fi and positions of things and objects, can really help round out a story as well. About 10,000 years. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it can be a crutch. Yeah, go for it.
I'm just curious about the settings for time-wise. So Is it true? Do you feel like the further out into the future, the more disconnected the audience?
Yeah, I think that's a definite argument. I think, especially in a short story, it can be a bit of a crutch if you go too far out, because you're sort of losing the audience in what's happening behind as opposed to in front. Um, but yeah, we're open to exploring and seeing where you go. But yeah, I just as long as the story's really crystallized and clear, I think there's room for exploring the future. I just think, you could spend a lot of time on positioning and objects and lose track of a good story. So yeah, that's a really good question. Endless stories, endless possibilities, just about taking a deep dive into a world of your own making. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Barbarella, what a great film. I feel like we need to rewatch some of these. So what we might do now is just to help you as well, we've created an inspiration board on the Moan Shorts Fest page, which I can share the link for in a second. But it's about halfway down the page, and we've put in there some genres. Christian, if you just move the deck one slide forwards, we've put in some genres in there and some examples of spaces that we think are great for these types of films if you did want to create in an existing space. And some inspo in there in terms of trailers we love. But if you also have any trailers that you're loving and picking up, feel free to ping them on to us as well. So
I have another question.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So technically, for these different spaces that exist on Mona already as minted spaces, is that fair game? Like, if we're trying to tell the story and doing the film, are we able to just jump into the space and like record a scene and as long as we, I guess, get permission from the space builder? And is it like that they grant the rights for us to use that for the film? Or is that how that works?
We've actually, through our T's and C's that everyone signs up to when they become a member, we have permission to use spaces, so it's not a permission thing. So yeah, you're free to jump into a space.
Okay.
Space.
So
Yeah.
I could go into a space that would be a good setting for like the story that I want to tell, and then that could be, and then I just put in the credits like spaces by or something like all the.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So you don't need to spend too much time. It's probably the investment of time on if you didn't want to create your own world, it could cut out a lot. And yeah, it's just working out where your scenes are filmed and then spending the time, as you do with image selection, like us on Unsplash, writing those descriptors in and having a good look and a good fossick through our catalogue is probably quicker than building any space. However, there is a complete category that is just new spaces in terms of our awards as well. So if you do build a new space, you do get an automatic entry into that as well. Really great question. Keep them coming. So bringing this all together into our loglines, we're really going to get into loglines now. So if you haven't already, if you can head to ChatGPT, so this is going to be a ChatGPT challenge. So if someone could just drop the ChatGPT in there, that would be super helpful. In fact, I can just do it now. Here you go. And I'm already logged in, but there's a free login for ChatGPT. So where were we? So a logline is more than an overview of a story. It will engage the target audience in the first place, premise in its simplest form. So it's really key that a logline doesn't do the complete reveal. It is the first expression of energy. It's the first expression of what the story is about. However, it's not a complete reveal. And the engagement part is clear. There is something in there that makes you want to find out more. It is the synopsis of the back of a book, and the summary that gets you into, say, a streaming platform or whatever. So there's some famous ones here on the slide. And we'll share a link to a number of famous movie loglines as well. We've got Legally Blonde here. A fashionable sorority queen is dumped by a boyfriend, and so decides to follow him to law school, where she figures out that there is more to her than just looks. And yeah, Pulp Fiction, the lives of two mob hitmen, a boxer, a gangster's wife, and a pair of dinner bandits intertwine in four tales of violence and redemption. There's a lot of messenger in there. Who is that person, and what happens to them, and some twists in there, but they don't reveal the twists. So yeah, I forgot we've got this one in between. So for anyone that has got Netflix on their phone, do you want to scroll in? No, it doesn't have to be Netflix. It can be your streaming platform of choice, and find your logline. Find your favourite show at the moment, or film, or something that is on your watch list, and share your logline of your favourite show in here. So I'm just going to go to mine as well. Has anyone from the Mona team got theirs? Yunji?
Yep, I got mine.
Yeah. Do you want to add yours in here? Just to contextualize some examples.
We're putting them in the chat.
Great. As a grisly virus rampages a city, a lone man stays locked inside his apartment, digitally cut off from seeking help and desperate. What show is that?
Hashtag alive.
Oh, so good. After his son makes a birthday wish that magically comes true, an unscrupulous lawyer finds himself incapable of telling a lie for 24 hours. Ooh. I feel like that could be Your Honor.
No, that's Liar Liar.
Oh, it's Liar Liar. That's good. Oggy. Oh, yeah, it's very cinematographic there. In a world where humanity is forced to live within massive walls to protect themselves from giant humanoid creatures known as Titans, a young man vows to eradicate these monsters after witnessing the destruction they bring upon his home, while uncovering dark truths about origins of Titans and the government's role in keeping humanity in fear. Wow. I don't know what that one is. Is that Clash Against the Titans? Sorry. It's probably really obvious. Yeah, so continue to keep... Yeah. Okay. Continue to keep sharing those. A chemistry teacher diagnosed with terminal lung cancer teams up with former student to cook and sell crystal meth in order to provide his family. I think we know what this one is. Breaking Bad. His family, his wife, disabled son, and newborn. What an amazing storyline. A young man sets off on a journey across seas to find the deceased king of pirates' ultimate treasure and take over his prior title. Ooh, what's that? Oh yeah, I do love that one. I'm just going to share mine in a sec.
Which one is Yunji's? Hers is when a young boy vanishes, a small town uncovers a mystery involving secret experiments, terrifying supernatural forces, and one strange little girl.
That's Stranger Things.
That's really good. Love that. We could go on forever. This is a topic of general conversation while you're watching, right? So if you open up ChatGPT now, we're going to serve ChatGPT some prompts to give you a log line. So you might have already done this already for this challenge. But if someone can share a couple that they've got from ChatGPT and what their prompts were. I had create 10 log lines for a film that sees X happen in mine. But maybe you can serve ChatGPT what you're thinking and see what it comes out with. You can see here that I've named main protagonist to someone, and that I've served ChatGPT some URL info there. In terms of a website. Love that. Create a logline for the story. The moon whispers secrets, longing friendship. In a world where celestial secrets abound, the moon's whispers beckon, yearning a cherished friendship. Who have we got? Bound by Scylla, a dancer encounters a companion who guides her towards a transcendent realm of expression through language and movement. Wow. I can see that unfolding visually in a dystopian future where the reality has become an addictive escape from reality. A talented gamer must navigate a treacherous online game known as metadromy, where the boundaries between digital world and the real world begin to blur and uncover the sinister conspiracy behind the game's creation before it engulfs humanity in a virtual nightmare. Oh my gosh. There's a lot happening in there. What an awesome story. An awesome synopsis. Yeah, so great. So you can see here that ChatGPT can be your friend. I think, yeah, again, another tool, another lens. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to do anything in ChatGPT at all. But for log lines, we find it can be a good push-off point. So oftentimes what ChatGPT spits out isn't quite right, and you serve it more prompts and it gets pointier. I love this. Create a logline of series for a film that is horror based on the Conjuring series. The main plot is an evil presence that haunts a town. But not only that, the town houses a creature that is possessed by evil and been awakened by century slumber. So some great outputs there. Centuries old terror comes to life when a malevolent force possesses an ominous creature, turning a tranquil town into a living nightmare. That's really punchy. That's a really good one. So ChatGPT, have a go with it. Doesn't have to be your jam, but it can sort of give you push-off points to think about in your logline. So rounding out a bit of a logline toolkit, we are going to share a link to this toolkit, so you've got them. But yeah, great loglines. We've got a couple of links to great loglines. We've also got ChatGPT, which have been in the Jungian archetypes, Shaper stories, the hero with 1,000 faces, and our inspiration board. So there'll be other times. There'll be times of the day that you're inspired by as well. So use your energy and your inspirational time of the day to dedicate to writing a logline. If you're doing if you're undertaking this challenge, so work when your mind's freshest, whenever that is. Or if you're the type who's a cliffhanger, work to the deadline. Which we'll come and give you a reminder on shortly. But we strongly believe everyone has a story. You started off with 6-word stories, so I know that it's possible. But yeah, just wanted to take the time before we get into the aspects of the workshop series to pause here and ask if you had any questions on any of this material, or how to use it, or anything to do with the challenge itself. Cool. If any of the Mona team have seen any questions pop up elsewhere, feel free to bring them back here. And Christian, I might pass it back to you to tell us all the things we need to know in terms of this challenge.
Yeah, so all like Sarah said, all this material will be available on the website. We'll have all the links updated. This is just a quick summary of what's happening this week. This will be the same for every week for the next 6 weeks. The challenges will change, but the format will be the same. So you're going to have what the challenge is. So this, as we said, was the logline. Very brief is just create the best logline for your Mona short. The submission period is this entire week, and it ends this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So just be aware of that. We've already have submissions coming in. So the mini challenge is really bustling. Today's the workshop day, and you can always find all information about submission on the website and in the Luma link. As for prizes, there will be 3 prizes awarded for this challenge, with a grand prize of $100 and many other goodies attached to that. So again, visit the website for more information. We'll update it later today or tomorrow with the relevant links and resources. And if you have any questions, we have a few minutes before we end the workshop.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that graphic from the generative realm?
I think this graphic is...
It's from Unsplash. It's from Unsplash, I think. I can find the artist for you, but I think it's storytelling in Unsplash. It's a free site.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you guys so much for the inspiration and the information and the push to get into it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone this far just on my own, so appreciate y'all.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thanks for jumping on and saying that. Do we need to commit to a log line for our short? Yeah, you were completely allowed to deviate. So what if you submit for this mini challenge a log line that came to you by that timeline, and for your actual Mona short, it changes, that's absolutely fine. It's just to get your mind reflective and to get you thinking about things. So yeah, what you submit today doesn't have to be the log line for your short. For the main challenge where the deadline is 18th, in the submission form we will ask you to share your log line. That's where we'll obviously have to be completely interlinked with your actual short, so you've got time. But it's a good place, it's a good starting point.
I just want to reiterate that you can also team up with people for any of these challenges or for the festival itself. So please, we have a channel specifically set up for teaming up. Go there, write a little profile about yourself, about your skills or what you're looking for, and other people who may be looking for someone will probably reach out to you. So definitely use that resource. But yeah, thank y'all for joining our very first workshop. If you have any other questions, direct them to the Mona Shorts Festival channel, and the Mona team will just troubleshoot as fast as we can when we see it.
Thanks, team. Thanks, Ty.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you later this week.